Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today, getting right back to work on the Datsun. We got a lot of little stuff that we got to take care of today before we can start tackling the rust in the engine bay. So here's the car exactly how we left it in the last video. So we're just going to start pulling off all the little components that are still in the engine bay. We're going to try to get the battery tray a little bit more accessible. That way we can actually start working on the rust repair and see exactly how bad the rust is over there. So we're going to start pulling all the little components out, probably pretty much everything out of here, including like the wiring harness and everything. We'll just pull that into the cabin. So yeah, I'm just going to get started and stop blabbing on about it. Just pulled the wiring harness out, so pretty much all the wiring is out of the engine bay. Still got the stuff that goes to the headlights. Not going to mess with those until the fenders come off. There's no reason to dive into that right now. I'm not going to remove the fuel lines and the brake lines yet, just because it wouldn't really make sense, because I can't fully disconnect them because I'm not going to get underneath the car and disconnect them all the way along the transmission tunnel. So I'll just wait until I start doing suspension and just pull all those out for now. So I'm going to leave these connected and just take them all out at once. I will pull the brake booster and master cylinders out, and then finish up with vacuum lines and these heater core lines that are going in. That might be it. I might not even do those heater core lines. I might just paint those up for when I prep the engine bay for paint, because I don't plan on really doing anything inside of the car until I'm done. So if I want to replace those, I'll do that later. So those will probably stay. Choke cables will probably stay as well. So really just the brake master and the clutch master cylinder. And I think that's everything that I'm going to be removing right now. So brake booster masters are both out. Got all like the little stuff. The I don't know, what is that? Like the windshield washer fluid bottle. Got all that crap out. I just pushed a lot of the like hoses and whatnot all through. So it's honestly, once I remove the brake lines and the fuel lines, this thing is almost ready to start prepping for paint. Obviously not at all, but like, you know what I mean, right? Anyway, probably going to clean up this area a little bit, try to see some of these spot welds a little bit more to see where I need to remove them. I did buy a new battery tray, so this whole piece I got new because they make like a stamped piece, some company does. So we're going to end up removing this. This is pretty stinking solid still. I may be able to remove this. I'll probably blast it or something, because it's going to be a pain to clean with a wire wheel. But I think, yeah, the next step, clean up and see exactly where I need to start drilling out all these spot welds on this thing. So I cleaned it up enough to be able to see all of the spot welds that we got to drill out. So we got quite a few. Try like 6 over here, and then like another 5 or 6 over there, and then another 5 or 6 down there. It's quite a few to drill out. It's definitely the easiest way to do it. I don't want to like hack this out because it isn't in that bad a shape. So I might be able to use this again. Like I said, I do have that extra piece that I could put in, save me some work, but if I could save this, then I'm going to try to save it. I don't know if I have any spot weld cutters, and I don't like to just drill them out, so I might not do this today. I might wait on that. I think I might just clean up a little bit of this stuff, kind of like put it away a little nicer. That way I don't just start throwing it everywhere, because I'm pretty bad about that, and I don't feel like completely losing my mind when I try to put this thing back together. So I bought the car a couple years ago. I actually got it from kind of the original owner. So it was the original owner's daughter. She inherited it when he passed away. She's like 56, 57, so an older lady. And I ended up buying it from her. The car spent most of its life in California. I bought it from San Francisco, and I had it shipped out to where I live on the East Coast. And she took really good care of it. I mean, it has kind of been neglected a little bit just because it's been sitting. She wasn't really able to work on it like her father was beforehand, so it's kind of lacking on maintenance, but the car has only lived in California or Arizona. I think it spent a little bit of time in Arizona as well. So it's in great condition compared to most of these from like the Midwest or the East Coast, anything like that. Like, they're just so destroyed. And it's honestly like kind of fun working on this thing in comparison to all the other Z's that I've had, because I've done the same thing where like I completely stripped a Z before, and every bolt, every nut on this thing was seized. Nothing was able to come off. There's a lot of Phillips heads in the engine bay that are holding a lot of little stuff in, and not one of those was able to come out. And most of them had to take like an angle grinder to them after they were completely stripped out. So everything so far on this car has come off perfectly, and is in like a reusable condition. And nothing's stripped, nothing's too corroded to come out or anything. It's amazing, honestly, like working on this compared to even like my Subaru, which is a 2000. Like, that thing is such a pain to work on because not even any of the engine bay bolts will come out on that thing. And it's pretty crazy because this is a good, what, like 29 years older than that. And this is in way better condition than that car. So I'm like super excited to actually continue working on this thing. Not like most of the time where I start something like this and then like the car is so rusty that you start realizing that it's so much more work that you're gonna have to do just because like every bolt isn't coming out, and you gotta like, you're gonna have to weld in new threads everywhere, weld nuts everywhere, because everything's seized. So that's awesome that this car is coming apart easily, and I'm super happy about that. The car is pretty much 100% stock too. It did have issues with like the brakes. It ran like crap when I got it. I don't think there's any shoes left in the rear. They squeak pretty bad. I don't know if they've even ever been replaced on this thing. I'm sure they've eventually been replaced, but it doesn't have very many miles on it. The car's sitting at right about 80,000 on the odometer. Now, I'm not sure if it rolled over because it is just a 5-digit odometer on these things. So it could have like 180,000 miles on it. I'm not sure. I don't think that it would have that many miles on it because it is in pretty good condition for being completely stock, and it hasn't really been some sort of restoration in the past. Like, nothing's really been done to this thing to make me think that it has that many miles on it, because I think it would be in a lot worse shape if it had about 180,000 miles on it. But who knows? The engine is number matching. Everything matches the VIN, and it's in good condition. So I'm super excited to work on it. And like I said, it's staying stock. The biggest mod that I'm going to do is coilovers, and that's just because of ride handling. It'd be fun to have this thing where it handles a lot better than stock, and you could go with some decent dampers and springs to lower it a little bit, but why not go with coilovers and you get a little bit more adjustability and whatever. It's a fun mod to do too, to section struts and weld on the new ones. So pretty excited to actually start moving on to this, but we're going to knock out the battery tray next. So that'll be the next video. I promise the videos are going to be better and not just going to be like me doing a little bit of work. I will be doing quite a bit more in each video and trying to do like one specific thing in each video as well. Once we get the battery tray knocked out though, then we're going to start working on the suspension, and probably just going to do the rear suspension first, and that's pretty much all of the rear drivetrain, not just the suspension. So diff, the rear cross member, everything like that is going to be completely stripped, redone, painted, and it should be really nice putting that back together. And I have a lot of new hardware too that I purchased. They make a lot of kits of like new hardware
240z's. So I bought a couple of those. So I've got a lot of new hardware that'll go in. I plan on refinishing a few of them. I'm still not sure exactly how I want to do that. And I need to look up some more stuff because that's not really something I've ever done before. But that's something I want to do to help with corrosion on the bolts and also make it look a lot better when it goes back together. And then once we get all the suspension redone, before we put it back in, we're going to undercoat the whole thing. So going to clean it up really well, get a nice clean surface for the undercoating to stick to. And I looked up a lot of different undercoating solutions, and I think I went with U-Pole Gravitex, something like that. I can't remember the name. But it seemed like it was like the cleanest looking once it actually went on, and seemed to have the best results. It's not really like a rubberized coating, so it really shouldn't trap in moisture, and it helps like inhibit rust, so it should be pretty good. It was either that or like Pour 15, but Pour 15 is good, but it doesn't really spray on and doesn't look that good, so you're gonna have to go over it with something because it's not meant as like a top coat. But that's the plan, to go over all that and then just reassemble it and then start prepping this thing for paint, which I am not very good at, so it's going to be a learning process when we do that. But it should be pretty fun. We got a lot of work ahead of us, so I'm going to end this video out with that. I appreciate you watching. Make sure you subscribe to find all the progress on this thing as we go. Watch my Instagram and Facebook too. Go follow those if you want to see more up-to-date type updates on this thing, because videos are going to be coming out like once every week. But as progress goes on those, I'm going to try to be a little more frequent about actually updating them. So appreciate you guys watching. You guys have a good day.